everyone, we are live, so I'm just waiting for the lovely Jon Binnie to join me, and then I can then invite him live, and then we're going to have a chat about all things awakening and our journeys and the quantum, and I'm so excited for today's conversation. So I have a magical coffee here with me today. I will tell you about it when Jon joins, because I want to tell Jon. So, Dione, you are on it. You are here straight away. That's amazing. So I'm just waiting for Jon to join, and then I can invite him in. Yay, Dione, you figured it out. Yes, Jon is here. Right, I'm going to invite Jon. This is the first time I've ever done a co-live on.
Hello.
Okay, I can see Jon in my little corner, but I can't yet see Jon. I don't know if I'm meant to see Jon or not.
I may appear in a second.
Ah,
can you hear me?
I can see you. You're in a little box down in the corner.
I'm tiny in a little box. Help.
How are you, Jon?
I'm great, thank you. Really good.
Good. I was thinking of you. I've just got the most magical coffee this morning. I know you're a coffee guy.
Yeah, I'm literally drinking coffee right now.
Mine's a Machu Picchu coffee. I bought it thinking it would be, have we got similar mugs, Jon?
No, I don't think so. Mine's like a kind of teal colour.
I've got a teal colour one of these. That's what it looked like.
Nice.
Amazing. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining.
I had a terrible coffee accident, which was, I'd just been like clearing the house, like doing the polishing. And I picked up what I thought was my coffee mug and took a sip. And then I realized that it was surprisingly cold. And then I looked and there was like one identical next to it. It's like, it's an undetermined, like aged coffee. I don't know how old it was. Like my guess is 2 or 3 days. Like, well, I'll be fine.
Coffee's pretty resilient, isn't it? So you'd hope that it wouldn't be too bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing. I was just saying, one of my amazing clients, Dione, has joined us, and she was like off the mark as soon as I was live. She was there, so I was just celebrating her.
Hello.
Amazing. So I'm so excited for today's conversation, Jon. Shall we just start off with some intros? Do you want to kick us off with a bit of an intro? Then I'll share an intro, and then we'll just see where it goes. And if anyone wants to ask us any questions, like hop on and ask us questions.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm excited today.
Where do I start? So, hi, I'm Jon Binnie. So I'm a father of 2. I'm married with a father of 2, and I have a lovely dog. We live in Scotland, and I, after about 26 years in a career of software engineering and artificial intelligence, I had an awakening in 2017, and it like totally changed my life, like these things do for many of us, and they never stop, right? Our awakenings never stop. But I, through that experience, I started meditating every day. I started talking to my spirit guides because they sounded like a good thing to talk to, and then I started creating songs from those every day. So I just since then I just have been channeling those songs every day. So talking to my spirit guides, asking for a message, turning those into little meditation video and a song, and then posting them on social media and releasing each song. And just today, I started album 144. So I'm just so excited. Like, that magic number came. It's so funny. It crept up on me. And it's a real, thank you. It's a real just celebration. Anyway, that side hustle turned out to be the side hustle, because I also started doing, about 3 years ago now, energy healing, clearing. I started with like clearing dark energies and entities from people, and then expanded out. I still do that, but also expanding out to helping people with past lives, future lives, their psychic gift activations, and then also into teaching people. So I've just started my first training courses to help people, not have to wait since 2017 to like go through all these magical transformations, because so many more of us are waking up really fast. And so I've resigned from my corporate job, and I'm going full time, all of Jon Binnie. Woohoo!
Celebrating you, Jon, and congratulations on 144 albums today. That
Thank
is
you.
just wow. And didn't you break some kind of world record for your amount of albums?
That's right. Yeah. My
To
wife's
go,
always like, "Don't mention the world record. Don't tell everyone about it." But yeah, it's the world record for the most studio albums digitally released, which you would think other people, would have done more. Surprisingly not. Um, and so that was 110 albums in November last year, and it was a really painful exercise to like collate all the songs and record it all and give them the evidence and get the Guinness World Records to sign it off, plus some music producers to sign it off. And I was just like, maybe I'll do it once a year, once every couple of years. But it's like every day is a record, right? We can all break our own records every day.
Oh, I love that. So can I just say, Jon, like after knowing you, I can't get my phrase there, because we talk in energy, don't we? We don't really
That's
talk
right.
in words. So yeah, I think like I shared this with you the other day. The thing I love about Jon, everyone, if you don't already follow Jon, go follow him now. Check out his profile and his amazing songs. Like Jon wrote a song for me and Coral the other day. Is that like really deep vulnerability? Like, so, you shared live a past life regression that you had. And I just think that was really beautiful, like role modeling that vulnerability. And the way you just, I feel really inspired by the way you just show up and take action. Like, you're just like, okay, I'm just going to go in my studio and do this song. And we were having a conversation the other day. Someone says, who is Jon? Jon is here. Jon is here on this live. This is Jon.
Hi, Maya.
Sorry, that made me giggle. Yeah, so we were having a conversation the other day about like some things that had been going on in the night, and you said, when you'd had that, you just gone in your studio. I love that kind of like, yeah, just take action, just do it. I just record a song. Like, that really inspired me to just like step into that place of action myself. So thank you for sharing your beautiful journey, Jon.
Oh, thank you. So, and you'd said this to me maybe yesterday or day before. You were saying, like, we were chatting and you're just saying, I really admire your transparency and vulnerability. And I was like, that's it. I want to be more vulnerable. And so I put on my little wireless mic and I walked outside and I took this video. And I think so far I've only posted it on TikTok. But I just started talking about the fear of like leaving like a highly paid, even though it's part-time, highly paid corporate job. Like, of course it's terrifying. You're like, how am I going to eat? Am I going to be like in a small box somewhere? Am I going to be like, living under a bridge? I don't know. And then you realize, well, even those things aren't actually that bad. Like, if you're like alive and happy and healthy, like there's only so many bad things that can happen. And actually, the worst thing I feel like we can do in this life is pretend that it's all okay and just end up in this kind of twilight of, this how to describe it, like this kind of this icky, sticky stillness. And I've been there. I was there for many years, and I was lost in it. And you can just drown yourself in these, horrible, deep, dark emotions. And actually, they're way worse than being like light and bright and like chasing your dream, right? Like, no, and I think also just knowing that the universe has your back. That the more we share, the more vulnerable we are, the more we inspire others to do it. And I'm always like trying to like, this is part of me that's always like, I'm Jon Binnie, I'm really upbeat, I'm always really happy. And then I'm like, but I have darkness, I have pain and suffering too, And I think it's bringing out the whole of you is really, really helps inspire each other, because I remember someone saying yesterday, we all have the same spectrum of emotions. Like, we exist in the same reality, this whole light to darkness. Like, it's all of us. We're all in this together. And the illusion is that we're not. The illusion is that, oh, my darkness is worse than yours, or yours is worse than mine, or somehow that we're so fundamentally different. And the reality is, the more and more I work, especially with like, people that are possessed or clearing their, dark energies and attachments, that even some of these darkest entities in the universe are, they're in the same spectrum as us. Like, we could choose to incarnate as one of them at some point in the future, and maybe we did in the past. So yeah, it just feels so magical to share like that whole of us.
That's beautiful, John. That is what I think drew me to you and your work. Was that piece actually? It was that kind of beautiful, because you're like I think the light and the dark. Maya Lee was saying is calling you Dragon Brother and popping into Sunday. Maya
That's
Lee, I
right.
hope I got that right. I hope I pronounced that right. Yeah, it is that like what I love about your energy, John, is like your energy feels so light and expansive. And I feel part of that process is that kind of honoring of the light and the dark. And, you know, when I saw you clearing entities, I was like, yes, like this guy gets it. He knows what's going on, like truly going on in this world, and is like, is stepping into that place of helping humanity with shifting the planet. So yeah, that really resonated with me, because I don't resonate with the whole like love and light plaster, but what I felt in you was that genuine like authenticity of like, let's honor the light and the dark, let's clear like some of that dark so that we can all like step into our purpose. I think that's really important, and that vulnerability comes with like not just vulnerability for ourselves and what we're feeling in our journeys, but also that vulnerability in that stepping into that space of oneness and all, and that quantum field where that light and dark exists. So
Oh,
thank you.
thank you. I see that in you as well. Like, and thank you for your kind words. It's like this. I feel so many of us, in each of our unique ways, rise from our own darkness. Like we rise out of these ashes that we create for ourselves. You know, our soul puts us in these lifetimes that are just so unbelievably traumatic, and you're like, oh, thanks very much. And the soul's like, yeah, but we're gonna grow. We're gonna grow, John. I'm like, right, okay. And then we go through these massive reboots. Like, it took me a few weeks to share about it last year, but like last summer, I went through this horrific like darkness, like, and I found myself just constantly creating, pushing out songs every day, videos. I was lost in this kind of lack mentality where I just wanted to kind of create my way, driven from lack, to get out of like this trap of like being in a 9 to 5 and trying to change my life and just hoping for the best, that somehow what's the definition of insanity, right? Like if you keep, you know, doing the same thing and expecting a different outcome. And I was in that infinite void of, and it was going badly wrong for me, inside. Like I was just, you know, melting and going very dark inside. And I, you know, some friends helped, you know, me see that, and I stopped. Like I took a break, and I went through some of the. So maybe it's going to be the deepest healing I ever do in my life, but never say never. But it's like it felt like, you know, taking the darkness of me and like pulling it out like Venom in the Spider-Man movies, and facing it and saying, I love you. Like I am you. I'm part of you. You're part of me. I'm never going to deny you. I'm never going to like push you aside again. We need to like reintegrate and heal together. And that journey was really tough, and it feels so alone. You're so alone in those moments. I remember even telling my wife, I was like, oh, I'm going to stop doing music for a few weeks. And she's like, you're going to do what? And I was like, well, you know, I need to just take a break and see, you know, and kind of go on a bit of a vision quest is one way of looking at it. And it was certainly, that's putting it mildly. And then it took me a few weeks later until a dear friend, Nova, I think she's mainly on YouTube. She said, you should just share this, like share your journey. And I was like, oh, do I have to? It's like, yes, like people need to see your, you know, the darkest shadows. And like you watched the session that Aura Universe did for me. Did I cry in that? I can't really remember. I often, maybe I can't remember if it was happy tears. Oh yeah, I do remember some of it now. Like, I think that's really important too, is like, as well as those deepest, darkest shadows, like those epiphany moments when you're just like crying with such joy, because you realize that you're just on this journey, and the journey is, you know, it's not necessarily predetermined, but like the things that are for you are coming to you, and they're always coming to you at the divine timing. And sometimes they're lessons, and sometimes they're massive, amazing opportunities, but it comes and it flows. And like when you surrender to that, you just, and the knowing that the universe has your back, like it's okay. That feeling, that euphoria, is incredible to tap into. And I think some of those moments that I often achieve in either meditation or sessions, and increasingly in my life, are also, equally powerful to share.
That's beautiful. I was actually talking about vulnerability with Coral this morning, funnily enough, because she's got a client in today that she's doing eyebrow tattoos on, and she was saying she was a bit nervous about doing that, and the client had said they were nervous, and I said, how incredible is that? Like, you're both sharing that vulnerability, and you're both going into that space in a completely different way. And I would definitely echo that. What is brought to mind for me, I'll share a brief bit about my story, and like then the vulnerability piece. I had quite a dramatic awakening in 2018, which was actually on like a 3D labels level would have been perceived as mental health, because I had just this extreme anxiety. And what it was showing me was my gifts coming online, and that I was feeling everything. And I kind of had this moment of like, after going through the kind of, the 3D labels and the boxes and the doctors, that kind of rhymes, boxes, doctors.
Yeah.
A rap.
Here comes the song.
went to the boxes and the doctors. And then it was just like this beautiful, like you say, this inner knowing of like, wow, like, yeah, this is like the universe has my back. This is here for a reason. I'm feeling everything for a reason, because I'm here to feel it, to help transmute it, to clear it, to feel it so I can be of service. So that was kind of the first stage of that journey. And then as time went on, I had like, I know it's not linear as such, but just in my head, this kind of helped me, was like, I had a second stage of awakening, which was like, so the first stage was like, okay, there's spirit guides, there's source, there's like something divine that I can connect to. And then this second stage, which was actually after being psychically attacked, which was an awful experience, but was incredible learning and lesson, of like, okay, this second kind of stage of awakening, which was like, what is actually truly going on? And kind of like, I kind of went from here, like I was kind of working with an energy modality, and I was working like here with that, and I was connecting to like a part of energy. And then the second awakening, which kind of coincided with lockdown, which I think a lot of us had, just broke this whole thing open, where I was in like, I accessed the quantum field, and I was just like, okay, this is truly it. Like my eyes are fully opened. Then straight away it was like, bang, you're going to have a psychic attack, which was like really intense. And I now know that was, like you say, that was part of my lessons and my journey, to then being able to help others through those experiences, and actually say to people, like, I don't even know how many times, if I had £1 for every time I saw something that like someone had posted or someone says something to me, and I think, wow, you just need energy clearing. Like, this isn't even like any of the things you're making meaning about this, like it's mental health, or I've got a block, or I'm being held back, or I've got this like trauma, or I've got this, like 98% of the time I would say I'm like, this is just energy, like this is all that is. So that journey for me has kind of led me to that space where I'm able to work with those energies. And for those of you watching, you might not know, I've got quite a sciencey background, so I didn't come into this in spiritual work. I actually came in through neuroscience. So I studied positive psychology. Like, I've always had a calling to help people, and what makes people tick. If we're going to look at like the 3D label of autism that I do have, it's my special interest is people. I studied positive psychology, and that's kind of what started that journey for me. And then I studied mindfulness after that, because that was just like, wow, this is like the most potent and powerful bit. And I think mindfulness was a bit of a buzzword at the time. This was around like 2015, like organizations wanted mindfulness. And I traveled around the UK on a mindfulness tour. My friend actually joked and said I should have had a bus, like the mindfulness bus, and like going around the UK, like training everyone in mindfulness. And I think it was that deep connection to that awareness of like, what is going on in my body today? How's my body today? How's my breathing today? That just sparked that awakening. And then it was like, okay, this is so much more than this. And I know we can explain a lot of quantum physics like in science, but it was like, okay, this is now bigger than just the neuroscience. So I now bring together that blend of like that neuroscience and like what can we do to keep our brains healthy and like a well-being aspect, kind of keep us grounded. And then like the roots of the tree can go deep into the earth, so our branches can grow and we can go up and access that quantum field. There's a couple of comments I just wanted to pick up on. So there was one that said it's not all rainbows and unicorn farts, which really made me smile. And Dione was saying that she resonates as well with the corporate job element, which of course Jon and I have been through. And the Tone Ranger this morning. Good morning.
Yeah, hello to everyone. Thank you for your comments. And Gemma, thank you for sharing. Like there's magic in our awakenings and in each of our unique journeys. And I in my journey, like my initial awakening was in a Kundalini yoga session. I've never done one before, never done one since. And it was an hour-long meditation. And I saw the planets and the stars being born. I saw nebulas and the energy flowing between them. And that got me hooked on meditation. And in that moment, I believed that this was meditation and where had it been all my life. I was like, it's free. I can just do this at home. I was like asking loads of questions afterwards. Like, can I just do this like all the time? It's like, yeah, like knock yourself out. But you know, we all go through this experience in lots of different ways. And you know, some people go through pregnancy and awaken. Some people go through trauma. Some people have a very that it's been there since birth, or they might a bit like my son. They might have had like a walk-in where like my son at age 8 just like flipped from being like almost like having no emotions, still like a funny, outgoing, loving child, but he changed overnight and suddenly was this influx of a massive amount of emotions. And suddenly like lots of things started happening. You know, he started having like night terrors and there was like lots of unexplained activity in our house. And, you know, and there'd always be orbs and photos around him and all that kind of thing. And then there's other people that go through it much more gradually, right? Like you're describing, I can only imagine in your awakening where after that first event, you'll be thinking like, oh, wow, like was that it? Like, is there more to come? And I know sometimes our souls are like, it's like we're being pulled. It's like there's this pulling effect where we're being brought to new opportunities to experience it. And even just before my first awakening, looking back at some of the Facebook reminders, like a year before, there was lots of signs turning up, like shooting stars and feathers, and I was sharing these things on Facebook, saying, "Hey, look, like the universe is magical, guys." No idea that, you know, it's like literally trying to knock on my door, like, "Jon, it's like, wake up," and I'm like, "This is just a great dream. Look at this; it's fantastic." And then you go through this awakening, and you're faced with both the brightest light and then the darkest shadows, both at the same time, right? And both need addressed at the same time.
I just have to pick up on this beautiful comment from the Tone Ranger. Jon interviews really well. It's like listening to Radio 4. That's so beautiful. Thank you for that.
One day I'll go on Radio 4.
Yeah, let's do it, guys. Share this video and like let's all make a petition for Jon to go on Radio 4. Like, let's do it. Who's up for that? Share this video. Can we tag Radio 4 in the video?
I'm sure we can.
Do that.
Let's do it.
Do you know your human design, Jon?
No.
Well, I'll send you a link so you can find that out, because one of the things in my human design, I'm a manifesting generator and I'm here to respond. So a comment like that, it would be like, okay, right, that's now information. Does that feel like a yes or no for me? Mm-hmm. And how do I then respond to that? So I love that. I feel like if you were an MG, then we need to respond to that. It's like, yeah, let's go. Let's get Jon on Radio 4.
Oh, I love that. And you're also talking about like psychic attacks, and like you also mentioned energy and how people, you know, feel I think like our health, for me, it just continues to be this theme that's just rising and rising, and it's broadening constantly. And I think when I first started the journey in 2017, the first thing I did is I like gave up alcohol, and then maybe about a year later I gave up meat, and then I started, and I was really just starting to pay attention to what I was consuming. I'm making conscious choices. Like, you should have seen me after a few beers before that. I just like opened the fridge, and it was like I saw my body as like this like rubbish bin. I was just like, I can throw anything in this thing, and then go in the mirror the next day and like give yourself some negative self-talk about how you feel, and like, why are you such a bad body, and your body's like, but you fill me with such junk, like, why? But over time I've realized that of course it goes across every dimension of you. What you consume absolutely is a huge factor in what you then push out, what you resonate out. And it's not just food, it's not just drink. It includes like the relationships you have, the job you have, like all those times that you're putting yourself in a position that is, you're kind of dimming your light, or you're pushing yourself down, and holding yourself back, has this very dampening effect on you. And it makes you much more attractive to, when you're in those lower vibrations, to other like energies and entities, whether they're little, like often seeing client sessions, little tiny energetic leeches that will try and attach onto us. And they're not like super sentient, but they'll just attach onto you, and they can grow, right? Like they can, like any of these things that attach to you, they feed off this negativity. And so they try and trigger it. It's like if you're drinking lots of alcohol, and it's like the more you drink, the more you lower your vibrations can become. And there's just that cycle of, you end up like feeling this shame eventually, and that's one of the lowest vibration emotions. And you feel isolated and alone, and you're the only one that's like this, and how is everyone else having such an amazing life and you're so terrible? And it's such a horrible position to be in, but you become this like black hole, this magnet for other low vibrations. And I was really interested in both your personal experiences and experiences you've had with clients about the sorts of symptoms that they've experienced in those moments.
I love that. Great question. And I can just pick up the bit on consumption as well. Actually, yeah. So I'm going to share something about that, and then like I'll see where that leads to sort of answer your question.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important what you said there, Jon, about consumption. It's not just what we eat, it's what we, whether it's alcohol, food, energy, media, social media, and I'd be interested to know your thoughts on this. We maybe have a bit of a conversation about this, like some of the stuff that's going on in the world at the moment as well. Like, we really need to be careful what we're consuming, because stuff is being pumped out for a reason, right? To kind of lower our vibration.
Yeah.
And yeah, I had an experience at a festival. It was a really big festival. I think Coral shared some of this with you in your chat you had on your YouTube. And we went to the festival. It was very light when we got there, beautiful nature. There was like a woodland stage. It was really fun. We were having the best time. The best thing about festivals for me is daytime dancing. Like, how many places and obviously I dance at home all the time, but how many places can you go to and dance during the day? Like, that for me is like a big, like, exciting thing. And then what happened is, over the course of the day, as the crowds got more and more drunk and possibly high, and I don't know what else was going on there, the energy of the place felt darker and darker, and it was like and then there was this sudden moment. It was about 7 p.m. This sudden moment, I think, where a whole load of people had come in from the campsite who were staying there, like ready for the evening, like, in the main acts and things. And a whole new load of people arrived. It was suddenly like about 10,000 people. Like, it's not even dramatic. There was thousands there. Came in, and like you just demonstrated, it went boom. The energy just dropped like that, and there was this sudden feeling of like, it was a feeling like something's going to kick off. like it feels like there's going to be a fight. Like there was a real like energy of like, oh, like something feels really off. We continued. This has been a huge lesson for us, because now when we go to events, when we get that drop, we leave. And that's always been like an amazing lesson. But we did not leave. We stayed for another like couple of hours through that. And it started to feel, my light just turned off.
Perfect timing.
That was strange. It started to feel heavier. Boom. It started to feel like more and more dense. And then like we both started to feel fear kick in. So I felt really safe there all day. I suddenly felt really unsafe. And it actually even got to the point where I was having suicidal thoughts.
Oh, wow.
Just out of nowhere for absolutely no reason. And I soon began to realise that these thoughts were not mine. And what had happened is the energetic density had dropped so much. And I was picking up on everyone's traumas that they were pushing down with the alcohol. So there was like huge crowds of people drinking. I don't know why I'm doing this. It's eating. Probably eating as well. Drinking shots. I don't know. I won't do all the actions. Drinking through this trauma, and it was pushing that trauma down. And then me being there sober, I was then picking up all of that, and it just like became so intense. And I went into when I got home, I went into what on a 3D label would be defined as an autistic burnout. I had a huge meltdown. I was screaming, I was crying. It was so intense, and it was literally just energy. And it just needed clearing. And it was quite, took a lot of clearing. There were a lot of like lower astral entities. There was lost souls. There was reptilian energy. There was a lot in there that had to be cleared. And then, so this was the year before last. And then I had a client go to the same festival last year. And she was in my quantum alignment program, and we had a group chat, and she popped in the group chat and she said, I don't know what's happened, but since I've come back from the festival, I'm just getting these suicidal thoughts. I really need some help. Wow. And I was like, wow, okay, that's exactly what I experienced. And same for her. It was just entities. She'd actually camped the whole weekend. And she
wow, so it's super intense.
Yeah, she'd been able to wake up every morning and like go and be in the trees and clear her energy. And then as soon as it got to the evening, the suicidal thoughts would drop in again. And I see this time and time again, like a general. So back to actually answering your question, John, it's this feeling of like these thoughts that we attach to that actually aren't ours. Like the entities want us to feel suicidal. They want us, like you say, to feel that guilt, to feel that shame, because it's a low vibration. They want us to be that low vibration, because when we're not, when we're a high vibration, not only can we see them or feel them, but we can have that awareness to then clear them. And I was actually shown this in a clearing yesterday I was doing with a client, that her crystalline vision had been switched off. And I went in deeper into why this was. I was like, okay, why is this being switched off? And it was she'd been in like she'd had quite a stressful week, and her vibration had dropped. And then they'd come in to like turn off her crystalline vision, because it was her crystalline vision that could see the dark.
Right.
And I was like, okay, it makes sense now. Because I was like, how is this relevant? And then it kind of all pieced together. So have you had experiences like that, John? Have you felt that?
Yeah. And
it says our live is age restricted.
Oh, nice. Maybe it's because
what did we say?
Maybe it was the S word. That's fine.
Did we say an S word?
The suicide word.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that word.
No, not at all. So, because it's really important, right? Like, regardless of what algorithms think about it. If I share a little bit about my first experience with energy, that totally shifted my mental paradigm was I had been 3 or 4 years of really intense work in my corporate job. I was working full time at like something like 70 hours a week. Now, since then, there was 5 people that have now taken over the things I was doing, which is great. But I was doing 5 jobs plus, And I was just an extreme, like, even though I was meditating each day and coping to get through each day, it was literally like day by day, like, can I survive? And my son was going through night terrors, repetitive nightmares of being chased through the woods by a demon. And my wife and I were taking it in turns to sleep in his bedroom. And I'd just been guided to, like, for the first time ever, like, I booked what was like a wellness reading from a friend, a dear friend, Lotus Leo, and it's great to see her. She's just started back again on Instagram doing readings for people. And just as I fell asleep that night, her higher self stepped through and said, "It's okay, Jon. I'm here, and I'm gonna do this healing for you." And I only slept, like, I don't know, maybe 4 hours, and I woke up and I felt like I'd been on holiday vacation for months and months and months. Like, my body felt so clear, and then I realized, like, what was normally in me, what I was so used to holding, this, like, she described it in the video as a stillness, like this horrible, icky, dark heaviness in my chest area. And she's saying, what you're doing is you're sitting in calls all day, in your job, and you're just absorbing this negative energy, and you're not speaking your truth, and you're pushing yourself down constantly. And that's why I'd always recover in holidays, because I was, like, allowing myself to step out. And that the fact that she's in America and I'm in Scotland, that even worked, like, that was one thing. And then the next thing was like, wait, I've been holding this energy in me, this dark energy, and that I can get rid of it, or that other people can get rid of it. Like, this totally changed my beliefs. And then what's been more gradual for me is that journey. So the darkness is the master of the illusion, right? And the illusion that we're always trying to be brought back to is that it's a physical universe first, and that they may or may not, depending on your beliefs, may or may not have some sort of energy resonating in and out of them. But the reality is it's the opposite. It's all energy first, and matter happens to be manifested from energy. And, if that was true in our law system, like in our legal systems, life would be very different, right? Like, you would not be able to go around thinking negative things about other people without some sort of consequence, And sometimes when I think back to either, like, comedy shows or, the like satires, or some of the horrific things that happened to us in past lives, you would hear people saying, that person's a witch. They must be, they must be executed because, they cast a spell on me or something. That there was almost more like of an appreciation of the potential of these things happening, and a consequence associated with it. But, right now, the way our world exists, most of our cultures, especially in the Western cultures, like, it's just a denial of energy, a denial of dark energy and negative intentions. And yeah, I've had many attacks. I've had, we all get, like, small attachments, right? And I just do a regular and an ad hoc clearing, and that really helps me. I do once a week at least. And then, like, for example, today it's just like, surprise your darkness, right? It's like, be an unpredictable enemy of yourself and say, like, I'm just going to do a clearing today because it just feels like maybe I should. And then the other thing that I found really fascinating is it can, like you're saying at this festival, it can be at a huge scale. And one far more out there in the world of woo-woo was this clearing I did in our area. So where I live, where I run each morning is an area called the Killing Fields. And it's because in the 14 and 1600s, and probably going back thousands of years, it's just a great place to battle. And so there's always battles going on, and hundreds to thousands of people dying in battle. And what I'd seen is that all their souls and their negative, trauma had been absorbed by the land, but there was something very, very large feeding off of this. And it was huge. Like, I have seen bigger, but not in the physical reality. This entity that had grown was huge, and it had also been working with people through the last few hundred years. I mean, it's ancient, but it'd been working with people that were doing dark magic and kind of warring fractions of, like, people doing negative and positive magic and energy work. And it was time for it to go. And I remember I was like working with my guides and my angels. It's like I was out for a morning run one day and they showed me all this in a very quick vision. And I was like, wait, I have to? Why do I have to do it? And they're like, well, Jon, why do you think you're here? You know, you might be like physically much smaller, but scale, when it comes to energy, like physical size is irrelevant. You know, just like a lot of big dogs, really small of my little dog. They're scared of my small dog because a small dog's bite in the right place can be fatal for a large dog. And it's the same, you know, it doesn't matter like how big if you're tackling something that's planetary size or not. And so I cleared that. Like I went through like a little ceremony there. I stopped my run. I went through and I cleared that massive energy out. And as I did, I was shown, because I was asking for validation afterwards. I was like, did that really happen? Was it really real? Like, am I just going crazy? And they said, look at the sky. You will see this entity leaving. It's so huge. It'll take time to reabsorb back into source. And so when I got home, I was guided to look out in my back garden facing west, and the whole half of the sky was jet black. Like, you know, you couldn't explain it. It was just like these darkest clouds you've ever seen. And my guide saying, that's it, lifting up and lifting away. And I think one of the hardest things we face as humans, it's been my hardest challenge so far, in the deception of darkness, is the ability to deceive you in any possible way you can imagine. And so so for instance, hiding, if one individual is, you know, very low vibration, and they are compromised in some degree, like in a small degree or like a full on like possession, they do all the tricks, right? Like, I'm going to hide in the light. So literally they'll surround themselves with happy, high vibe friends, right? And they'll tell them all the things and tell them all the words. And even I've seen it, I've had direct friendships with people for a period of time where they are like 99% light, but that 1% is an energetic attachment pushed through from a very large, very dangerous entity. And in those moments that they're influenced, even though it's just 1% of the time, they are highly dangerous. And, you know, in my experience, it was things like someone performing healings on me. You know, when you don't give consent, that's an attack. Like, it doesn't matter what the intention is. If you just, you know, if a doctor just came in your house, broke in your house and started, you know, I don't know, injecting you with something like help, and it's the same energetically. Like, some of those boundaries crossed, it doesn't matter how shiny and light someone seems. Like, if they're breaking your boundaries, like, your boundaries are your energy barrier. You are your energy castle, right? And like, if you're letting these things in intentionally or accidentally, it's just a huge red flag that you have to deal with it.
Love that. I absolutely love, and that's something I've never done, is actually asked for that evidence that things are leaving. Yeah. I always feel it. Like, I'm a big feeler. Like, I always feel it, and I feel different, or a new client pops in every time I clear, or something like that happens. But I love that like visual of the sky turning black. I think that's amazing. I'm going to ask for more signs.
Yeah.
That's incredible. That's quite exciting for me. I just want to pick up on a question that was asked, because I feel it's a really important one. From the Tone Ranger, and thank you for your you said you had a spiritual awakening through you in a tarot reading, and you didn't think and then you said, isn't this, so we're talking about the events and then feeling that energy, isn't this general anxiety for not being able to anticipate how the night will go? Now, this is a question that I asked myself several times over the last few years. I think because for many years I didn't know this energetic information, and I thought if I was feeling something that it had to be my anxiety about an event. So I tested it. I've tested this several times. Like, what we can do is we can kind of be analysts about this. Like, this is my geeky side coming out, right? So we can be analysts and look back over that energy data over time and go, how did I feel? How did that event play out? What happened afterwards? And building that energetic data over time, what I have found, and tune in with your own inner knowing on this, like for those of you watching, like, what's your inner knowing on this as I say this? Every time I have felt anxious about going to an event, there's always been energy there. There's always been some kind of energetic influence, like in worst case scenarios, an attack. When I felt purely just excitement about that event, there's never been any issues. So I've actually built that energetic because I needed that confirmation. I needed that like data over time to kind of tell me what is really going on here. Am I going crazy? Like, is it just me being anxious? Because for many years I tried to push through and think, oh, well, if I go to this thing again and again and again and again, this was like when I was working my corporate job in London, it was like, well, if I go to London enough times, surely what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. But it was actually complete opposite of that. And that anxiety was not anxiety. It was information. And it was my body saying, and I've tested it time and time again, it was my body saying, no, this is a no-go. Your body's saying, no, this is not anxiety. This is not nervousness about the event. This is actually your body saying, do not go there. Do not put yourself there. So I had a positive to give a positive experience of this. Coral and I went to our local Pride celebrations, not last year, the year before. And we both, we had these, her mum had bought us these, I don't know why the T-shirts are relevant to the story. They're not, but I just love them. These, Rainbow Dorothy T-shirts. We had these, matching Dorothy Yellow Brick Road, T-shirts. Yeah. And we were just so excited, and we got so dressed up, and we put rainbow paint on our faces, and we were so excited, and we had the best time. And we went to the parade. The parade was just, the energy was just up here. Coral sang at the Pride event. She got to play one of the stages. It was an incredible time. And then we went to one of the parks where there was a celebration afterwards, and we just started to feel that energy drop. And we turned to each other, and I said, do you feel that? That feels like just maybe 10% of latitude. See, I've said the festival now. Oh, I wasn't going to say the festival. I said, do you feel like 10% of, yeah? She was like, yeah. I said, I think we should leave. And I think what helped is that we went just us. And I made this quite clear at the outset. So for anyone watching, this is being an important part of that journey for me. Is okay, I'm going to go to an event, but I need to have complete freedom so that I can leave. When things start to get dark, I need to leave. If I'm there with a massive group of people and there's that groupthink thing going on, I need to have that freedom. So we turned to each other and we said, yeah, time to go. We got in the car, we came home. We didn't have to do intense clearings the next day. We carried that high vibration. It was a beautiful time. So our bodies are, I would say, again, I keep using this, I'm just plucking this statistic out of the air just as a guess, but 98% of the time, if you are feeling anxiety before an event, it is usually your body telling you the energy that is there. What would you say about that, Jon?
I think that I agree with all of it, and thank you for sharing your experiences. I think the first thing is just getting over the illusion that energy somehow doesn't exist and it's not an energy first universe. Yeah. When you realize it is, that's a helpful start. But I think to put it in practical terms, when I just my kids were born, I was for almost 6 years, I was a singer in a pub covers band. So, and I was sober most of the time. I think I stopped drinking after the first year of it, because I'd be driving a lot of time. So I would be dancing on stages and bars and tables, and I had a wireless mic and run around, and it was super fun. But I got very quickly attuned to how aggressive, especially the guys would become, and they would see me as a threat, even though I'm a little guy running around, singing happy songs, and everyone was largely dancing around and enjoyed it. But your spider senses definitely increase in those situations. And I could see often people would, I think most people could physically look at another human entering a pub and decide in the moment whether they're coming in looking for a fight or not. And then maybe they're coming in and they're their energy is a bit kind of more subdued, but they're kind of hiding it. They're pretending to be, not be full of rage. And then there was definitely those moments. Luckily there wasn't, in 5-6 years, there's only a few fights that broke out, but it was more the energy build up towards it that was quite shocking. And I think the practical thing you can do is, for example, like keep testing yourself on what the energy feels like. So, for example, if I go into my living room and my wife and daughter are sat there watching TV, if they're quiet and they've just been having a very happy conversation, you feel it in the air. You just feel like, and you look at them and you'd confirm it, like their bodies would probably look quite relaxed, and their heads might even like be more freely looking at each other and just feeling like their space is more open. If they've just had an argument, they're both very focused away from each other, you know, either on their phones or directly looking at the TV, and there's a heaviness. And you can say to yourself, what does that feel like in that moment? When I enter this room, what does that feel like? And you can just do that everywhere, right? And we are blessed with these super magical, I don't know if every being has this in the universe, but we as humans have this incredible heart, which allows us to receive energy passively from other things. Like any entity of any vibration can't stop their energy resonating out. And it just touches our heart lightly. And you can just listen to your heart. Often I place my hand on my heart and I just ask the question, is this high vibration or low vibration? Like, where does it sit in the spectrum? And then you just listen to your heart. And like now that I've been doing it for years and years, yeah, sometimes it feels more like a whisper. It feels like my body's sentient and that it's talking to me. It's like saying, you know, we work together, John, we're a partnership and this is what I feel. But when I first started doing it, it's just like almost those spider senses or that sixth sense. You're thinking there's something not quite right. I can't put my finger on it. And that's okay. Like that in itself, it's not surprising that humans have evolved doing this, right? Is that if you're being hunted or if you're in a stressful situation, you need to know as quickly as possible. So energetically, we've already developed these abilities to receive energy. And yeah, I think it is a fantastic idea to leave. Like you can't just turn up and ask for like a few unicorns and a big rainbow to come and clear all this darkness. Or even if I, you know, attempted to take on like a crowd of 10,000 with, I don't know, Archangel Michael, it's like that's not how it works. You know, the energy of a home or the energy of a person is sovereign. Like it's their free will. They get to choose what energy levels they're at. We don't get to decide. Just because we're not happy with it doesn't mean to say it's up to us. So, yeah, I think I definitely resonate with that. And I think there's lots of, you know, interesting techniques, like you say, like you can do those experiments, those kind of A/B experiments and say like, okay, in my treatment group, here's this new place I've not been before. Let's feel what the vibe's like. And then in my control group, it's like, well, here's like something I'm very used to. My home always feels nice. It feels like a lovely place. What does that feel like?
Yeah, I love that. I think a really important theme that you've mentioned a couple of times, John, and just want to like really emphasize this is the energy first thing. Like this is an energy first universe, like you say, which I feel just encompasses this whole conversation is energy first, and the illusion is it's physical first. And I actually, okay, there's something coming through here for me about the illusion around so I'm going to give an example. I had a reading with someone a few years ago who I now know didn't have an awareness of the darkness, and she was being quite influenced. And something that and thankfully I can kind of see through the veil, and I was able to step back from that. One of the things she said to me is, you're spending a lot of time in meditation. You need to just stop that for a bit and just chill out, and go do some human stuff, like go out for some drinks. She said to me, you need to go out for some drinks. Thankfully that didn't feel right in my body. You need to just go watch Netflix. She was like, I'm just being shown by my guides that you're not doing enough human stuff. Like you're in these like long meditations for like hours on end, and you're doing all this healing, and you know that's not good for you. And when she said that, my body felt like, oh no, my body went like this. So I instantly knew, but I didn't know why at the time, because at the time I was really trusting of like, because I was quite disempowered at that stage in my journey, like, but I did have this like inner niggle of like, that doesn't feel right for me. So I just said, okay, thank you. And I did kind of, but I feel like that's part of the illusion, is this message. And I absolutely love Rebecca Campbell's oracle cards, but there is an oracle card that says something like that. It's like, I can't remember the exact wording, but it's something like, don't forget you're a human having a spiritual experience. But what being, to me, the translation into that for me now, with the knowing that I have, is how do we nourish this human vessel to be able to be that channel? So things like, you know, some of the positive psychology stuff that I teach, like, how do we like become the best version of ourselves? Like you said, John, about the food, you know, going to the fridge and like, what am I consuming? I now translate that message as, how do I become that nourished vessel? Because I am the vessel, the 3D vessel channel for that information. So in a 3D sense, I need to be as nourished as possible. It doesn't mean being human is like necessarily is, you know, go out and get wasted at the weekend and watch Netflix all weekend. And no, don't get me wrong, I love a film and I love Netflix, but like that's not truly what being human is. And I feel like that's part of that kind of facade. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. And I do want to, you know, at kind of covering the extreme situation, which is when, or more extreme, where we're like, when we're too scared of, when we realize, you know, we go through awakenings and realize that it's an energy first universe and we suddenly become highly protective of ourselves, that there's a downside to it, like everything in the universe. And so you can't just build yourself this kind of huge energy fortress around yourself and expect, you know, a little fairy or energetic butterfly to magically make its way through. Like, it's not getting through. Like, you've closed the door to it. And it's the same with relationships. And I can't remember when we met now, Gemma, but it's not been very long, right? But we both work in this space. Like, we have lots of similar experiences. And and first of all, like, congratulating you on like trusting me. Like, I know that's a huge thing. And I guess I should also do that for myself. Like, I've been through this wounding before, where, you know, you make friendships, but psychic friends are hard friends, right? Because, and I say psychic friends because we're all becoming psychic, empowered more and more at an ever accelerating rate, everybody. And so it's so helpful to really practice that discernment. And it's lazy for me to just block people and say, you're just not good enough. Like, I can't see the rainbows, you know, or I don't like your demons aren't ugly enough. You know, whatever it is, it's not enough to just do that. It still have to do the hard work of like doing that human thing. Like when you're meeting someone in the pub for the first time, you'd be like, well, it's a crowded space and it's noisy and it's difficult to hear you and to feel your energy. But there's something there, like I'm connecting with you, and just allow your heart to lead you a bit. And it's okay to be cautious and to stop and start a bit. And it's okay to, I think, just like we were when we first connected, there's kind of like these moments where you ask each other questions about your experiences and your beliefs, and you're getting that feeling as you go. And then much more recently, it feels like including before this live, it tends to be far more telepathic. Like you're once you make those connections, you realize that actually they're kind of always on, and that it's important to know when it's a good time to like disconnect from people, because if I think about you, you're feeling it, even if you're not conscious about it. And this, same goes for anyone. So I just wanted to talk a bit about that. And then, very much like being human. Like, I have this conversation almost daily with my spirit guides, which is, you guys aren't human. Like, you say all this stuff to me, like, oh, John, go and climb a tree. And it's like, I love trees. I really want to climb a tree, but it's so embarrassing, guys. Like, you're not the one who has to be the middle-aged man in the daytime or nighttime looking really odd, at the side of a road climbing a tree just because it's going to help his inner child. Like,
just see you under like a full moon at night, climbing
exactly,
a tree, and all these people like calling trees.
I already skateboard and post all these funny things on social media and do dragon light language and like all these extremes, and yet that and also finding that practice of being human, and like that reading for you, like I agree, like it sounded like a really bad idea, the advice you're getting, but the good advice is like finding these ways, often people that are, you have grounded common interests with, like they're human. It could be working out, it could be like, things that are connected to your body, to grounding. And the same with food. Like one of my students on my training course at the moment, the higher self foundational training, asked for some guidance on consumption on food. Like, and I'm like, I'm not a nutritionist, but another friend was telling me, they're saying, for example, if it's not from the ground, or it's not from a tree, or if it didn't have a mother, it's probably not the best thing for you. But like you say, Gemma, like I watched Netflix a lot last night. I also ate a big bar of vegan chocolate. I'm not vegan, but no one else will eat it in the house. And it was just like, I felt really bad afterwards, like I had a food hangover. But, we make these choices, and it's okay. Like everyone gets to make their choice. And that's a big part of being human, like, is being constantly on that spectrum of, in the super light, like, oh, I ate like, berry from a tree, and there's like a little fairy next to it. And then the other thing is like, well, I went to McDonald's and I got a plant-based burger, and then wonder why I feel a bit weird afterwards. Like, that's kind of, how can they make vegetables and meat substitutes so energetically weird? But it's like, it just is what it is. And I think there's definitely like a journey that so many of us are going on, where everything you consume, TV, food, drink, relationships, are a journey for us to navigate. And it's not the same answer for everyone. Like, just like not everyone's vegan.
I love that. And that's, again, comes back to that body truth, isn't it? Like, what feels true for you? What can I experiment with? What feels good to consume? What doesn't? So we've been talking for an hour, Jon, and we could like continue this live for like forever. Hours and hours and hours. But shall we open up to see if there's any questions from anyone?
Yeah, that's a great idea. I love that.
Does anyone have any questions for either of us or both of us? Also, thank you for the roses. I don't know if you saw, Jon, at the start, we were being sent roses. I love that. I don't know how to do that. I'm not that technical on TikTok. Loving that. I think they've sent you roses. I think you've got a fan club there. You were like, if you were on stage, you'd be getting roses thrown at you.
Thank you.
The kind of like the TikTok version. So has anyone got any questions for Jon or I, or both of us? There's been a few consistent people that have stuck around for the whole live, so thank you so much to you. Also, one of you kicked somebody out that was misbehaving, so thank you for that as well. I saw that.
Yay for the kicking out.
Thank you for protecting this space. We really appreciate that.
Yeah.
So any questions? I know there's a bit of a delay sometimes, isn't there, with them? So I just need to be patient. I get impatient.
That's right. And while we're waiting, one thing I would quickly mention is, when I did a kind of future life, like, version of me meditation recently, just 4 minutes feeling into like, what would that future version of me feel like living my dream life? And the first thing that hit me, the very first thing that came through, was my body. And my body was saying, look how strong I feel. And I was like, oh yeah. And I think I was about 20 years older, and I was like, I'm stronger then than I am now. It's like, oh yeah, like, we're like, it feels great, you're gonna love it. And I was like, that is goals. Like, that feeling was just goals. I didn't care how it looked. I was like, that feels amazing.
I love that. Yeah, that's beautiful. I love connecting to that and feeling that. So Dione says, so interesting and aligned. So pleased I made the whole chat. Oh, amazing. Yeah, Dione, you are super aligned with Jon and I. So yeah, glad that you could make it. Does anyone have any questions before we close today's live? While we're waiting for the questions, if there is any, I had I think I shared this with you, Jon. I was doing a session for a client, and I saw her future self, and she was a complete light being.
Wow.
And it just made so much sense, because she'd been experiencing a lot of physical issues. And what I was shown is she was experiencing those physical issues because her energy already thought she was going to be that light body. So she didn't need like the physical, and it was causing issues, so we had to like kind of get that into alignment. So yeah, it's really, I think we spend a lot of time like looking back, don't we, like not only on like healing trauma and inner child work, but also like, past lives, but actually the future life stuff, because it all exists as one and the same anyway. It's just really fascinating.
Yeah, I really love that. That's definitely And thank you for that. I'll include that in my video tomorrow on food. It's like the things that, we could consume at low vibration when we were lower is a much bigger spectrum, right? Like you could pretty much consume everything. But as you continue to get lighter, your body just starts rejecting these things. And I think your body's a bit confused as well. As much as you are, you're like, what, I can't eat like chips or fries anymore? Like, really? Like, what's wrong with those? They're just potatoes. Like, well, choose them, be discerning, about your food. But yeah, like that whole ascension ahead of us is just so exciting.
Sorry, I was going to say I actually have data on that. So back to my geekiness. I worked with a lovely friend, Ollie Matthews, who's an incredible health coach, and we worked together in 2020 and to look at how I could improve my health. And one of the things we were measuring my blood sugar levels. I can't remember if I shared this with you, Jon, but I was having to like prick my finger and measure my blood glucose every day. And I was going through that exact experience. Like my body, this is when I gave up, gave up like binge drinking. I still sort of had, Ollie? Oh, amazing. Isn't it a small world? Yeah, Ollie, I've known Ollie since I was 16.
Oh, wow. I think I listened to your podcast together.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, Ollie's amazing. Ollie and I used to write raps in his bedroom when we were 16. We used to have a mixing deck. Like Ollie and I were homies when we were 16.
So cool.
We thought we were like some kind of gangsters. I was measuring my blood sugar and my body was going through that exact thing. I just suddenly became unable to drink alcohol. I was unable to, like you say, eat chips, like fried food. Like my body just couldn't handle anything processed or toxic anymore. And it was coming up in the data of my blood sugar. And Ollie was saying, like on a health level, like it's best you avoid these things. And then my energy was telling me the same data, which was incredible.
That is so cool.
Worked with him. Oh, it's amazing. Isn't it a small world, hey?
Oh, that's lovely. Help with tummy issues. Yeah, that was a big thing for me. Like I was having tummy issues and I was saying to my guides, it's like, come on, like really, what else do I have to give up? And they said, you got to like stop the snacks, Jon. And for snacks, I mean like chocolate and crisps. And I would binge eat like that. Oh, I just love doing that. Well, I used to. And now if I do it, even at a small degree, like maybe more than a bar of chocolate or something in a day, I realize it's not actually the individual food. Often I see like the high sugar content really difficult to process. But it's like my body goes into this like hangover state. Like last night I was waking up, I actually woke up thinking I had been drinking because my body's like, what did you do? And I was like, I just had a large vegan chocolate bar. Come on. And they're like, yeah, but you're going to have to take care of yourself. Like if you're going to keep rising. But yeah, it's really beautiful.
I didn't say when you mentioned it. Sorry, just the comment about celery. I had lasagna last night. I got like super excited about getting really creative in the kitchen, and I made lasagna. And I woke up in the middle of the night, and my body was like, we're not happy about all that pasta. It was So Christine says, what do you eat to get the crunch? I need the crunch. What would you say there, Jon? Christine says celery.
Oh, I don't know. Like I'm my go-to rather than snacks, for example, is nuts. I eat quite a lot of nuts, but then if I eat too many, it feels really heavy. Like I've just literally put a massive bag of nuts in my stomach. I also eat, I love like the crunch of apples, and maybe if you want something more crunchy, then yeah, like celery's great. Carrots, like a lot of your like raw, like earth vegetables are just lovely, and you pay a bit of attention to where they come from, because that can help as well. A lot of ours we're blessed with them being grown in the area.
Something I tried recently, which worked really well, just realised for the crunch, we've got an air fryer, and I cut up some beetroot, sprayed it with a little olive oil, and put that in the air fryer on a low heat, and made beetroot crisps. They were really good, and I had those with some hummus. So
nice.
That as well. Dione says that her guides are telling that as well, and body is starting to reject it. So thank you for sharing that, Dione.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, any questions for anyone else before we... Dione's off for a past life clearing. Amazing.
Oh, wow.
Enjoy.
Good luck.
Have a great time.
And it's 11:11.
Oh, shall we end it there at 11:11? Perfect. Thank you so much, Jon, for joining me live. Absolutely love this conversation. Go follow Jon. I'm pointing down because you're down on my screen, but I don't know if everyone else can see you down there. Go follow Jon if you don't
follow
already.
Gemma too.
Thank you. Follow me. Yeah, love today's conversation. There's our little leaving dance. And yeah, thanks so much, Jon. Thanks everyone for watching, and sending you all lots of love.
Thank you, everyone. Sending love.
You.
Bye.
Bye.